Scrapbooking.com magazine presents the following Basic Techniques article from the November 2011 issue. Square One, One Thing Leads to Another, Part 3, Borders, Ballerinas, and Butterflies, by author and artist Judy Kaufman. People have been trying to explain and quantify the creative process for a very long time, without much success, largely because it's so different for each of us. In over 4 decades of teaching, I've never been able to come up with a magic formula, so I've settled on this description of the whole process. One thing leads to another. In other words, allow yourself to set off in one direction and then get distracted and head somewhere else. Or make a lot of sketches and careful plans, have a goal in mind, and stick to it. Ultimately, you'll discover that creativity is within all of us, ready to be called into service. Many call it a muse, but I think of it as a willingness to play and experiment, to try and fail. At the same time, it's important to have supplies and tools and know how to use them. With or without a plan, creativity takes over and we can't always predict the outcome, though we need to be prepared to help it along. So how does one thing leads to another manifest when it comes to simple things like card making? I'm glad you asked. Let me tell you the story of how these cards came to be. I was in the mood to clean my workspace. I came upon a plastic bag with bits and pieces of border stickers none longer than about 4 inches. Instead of tucking them away, I put them on my work table. For no particular reason, I began to think about 2 of my favorite dies that haven't gotten a workout in a while. One for window cards and one for card wrap. It was a crisp fall day. I looked out the window to admire the fall colors, beautiful shades of brown, rust, and gold. I received an email from a friend who mentioned that she and her mother are going to see the ballet Swan Lake for the mom's birthday. The mom loves butterflies. I thought it would be fun to surprise her with a card. Bingo! Some of the border stickers are butterflies. I always have plenty of cardstock on hand, and rich fall colors are among my favorites. I remember that somewhere in a folder is some vintage photo ephemera. Yes, along with royalty and a little girl with a poodle, there's a sheet with ballerinas. One thing leads to another, and before I know it, I have 2 dozen cards ready to mail. I always work by the batch method. I mean, if I'm going to make a mess, I want to have a bountiful outcome for my efforts. Card making is a lot like cooking. You mix components or ingredients, like stickers and cardstock. For cooking, you might precisely follow a recipe, or you might use that recipe to inspire your own concoctions. Well, it's the same for card making. You can look at the projects someone else has created and duplicate them exactly, or use them as a starting point. Now, I've intentionally mixed ingredients that are available with those that have been discontinued. That way, you won't be able to duplicate the cards precisely as shown, but you can use every one of the concepts by looking at the cards. For example, all of the window cards have elements that are on the front as well as elements that are inside the card viewed through the window. This means that you'll be arranging components on 2 surfaces. You need to consider how the cards look when open as well as when closed. One card has elements solely on the front, no window. Some cards have elements that are sanded and distressed. Some cards are flat, but have some dimension added with foam tape. Look closely. One of the cards shows a ballerina peeking through the largest opening in the ornate gold border. I could have placed that border near her knees, but I didn't want to cover up the skirt, and I liked the way she seemed to be waiting to go on stage. You have to be willing to play and experiment to discover this kind of possibility. Now it's your turn. Gather your ingredients, find your inspiration, and see for yourself how one thing leads to another. A printable project card with instructions and a list of supplies can be found by clicking on the step-by-step instructions link within this article. To find the products featured in this article and shown in these layouts, check with your local scrapbook retailer. Browse our premier retail stores for coupons to a store near you. We hope you've enjoyed this article from Scrapbooking.com magazine. For more creative inspiration, be sure to check out all of the great articles and projects in this month's issue.